Hey guys, Aaron Cloyd here from Whitetail Weekly, and today we're going to do a little two-part series on shed hunting. So the first video today, we'll talk about when to go shed hunting. There's two questions you see asked a lot: when and where should I shed hunt? So today we'll cover when. Tomorrow we'll cover the where portion. So for today's video, we'll talk about when. To me, here in Michigan, calendar-wise, February 15th is kind of that cutoff date for me. If you're before February 15th, in my opinion, you're kind of below the 50-50, meaning there's more deer holding antlers than there are that have dropped antlers. Once you get past February 15th, that'll flip, and you'll start to get more deer that have dropped than are holding. That's just a general rule. We saw deer dropping back in December. You'll see deer holding late March into April. So there's some outliers, but to my opinion, that's kind of the break. So that's the calendar answer to when. But your answer to when depends on your situation. The place I shed hunted the other day is a public area. It's a public park, several thousand acre area, closed to hunting, open to the general public for walking and checking everything out. So I am by no means the only person that shed hunts there. So those public areas, you got to keep in mind that there's a lot of other people out there looking for what you're looking for. If you wait until March to go there, you might not find anything other than boot tracks, right? Everyone else will be through there picking up everything, and you might be screwed. So when I'm there, I'll start, if the weather's good, I'll go early January. Kind of scout out areas, look in bedding areas, see which areas are kind of having more action than others. I can take that information and use it when we get into February and the odds go up. But in those public areas, sometimes just get when the getting's good and forget about the calendar. Private ground, like our main farm, we don't have any competition. It's us. So no rush. We wait until, we might go mid-February, kind of check things out. We won't push real hard. But in March, early March, mid-March, that's when we'll go and make our big push and try to do our big shed trips. So, your situation might vary depending on kind of what you got. And there's also the risk, you don't want to, on private ground especially, you don't want to push those deer off your property and risk, if you have a hot bedding area, you go tromping through it, maybe they bump off for a day or two, and then while they're off, they shed somewhere else, right? You don't necessarily want to do that. So it's a risk, right? You want to kind of let as many of them in your area, stay in your area so that they can drop in your area. So the when, again, it's a little bit of a tricky question, but I don't know that there's a bad time to go out. It's just obviously sometimes they're better than others. You're looking for a needle in a haystack, and I think if you're going before February 15th, there's not a lot of needles in the haystack at that time. So wait till after. If it's up to me and you have the time to wait and there's not the competition, I'd say go after February 15th. Day to day, a lot of people say, oh, overcast day is better. To me, I don't have time to be that picky. I want to get out. If the weather's there, I'm going. What I will say is try to get to where the sun is at your back as much as you can, so you're not looking into the sun. It's hard on your eyes, and when things are at your back, it's a little bit easier to see. They stand out a little bit more than if you're squinting looking into the sun all day, especially when there's snow on the ground. You get real whitewashed after a while with the bright sunny day and the white snow. It can be tough on the eyeballs. So, like I said, people say overcast days are better, drizzly days are better. I don't have the luxury of picking. So when a weekend comes along and I got time, I'm going. But you can do things like try to keep the sun at your back and whatnot. So to me, that is the when portion of it. Again, February 15th is the cut. And then obviously you apply that as, whatever works best for your personal situation and the ground you're going out on. So that covers the when. We'll do another video here and we'll talk about where to shed hunt. So stay tuned for part 2, guys. Shed season is here. Let's make sure we're all doing our best out there and having our best success. So stay tuned for part 2, where to shed hunt. Hey guys, Aaron Cloyd, Whitetail Weekly. This is going to be part 2 of our shed hunting mini series here. We're going to talk today about where to look for sheds. So the other video talked about when, like calendar wise, and today we're going to talk about where. So this time of year, deer are slaves to the stomach. They will stay in and around food as much as they possibly can. So if you have a hot food source, you're going to have deer, and if you have deer, you got a good chance of finding sheds, assuming you have bucks. So you need to find your hottest food sources right now, and then the bedding areas that they're using to go to and from that food source. So if you can find the hot food source and the hot bedding area, you're cooking with gas then. those runs that go between the bedding and the food are going to be the next best area. So hot food sources right now, if you're in ag country, things like winter wheat, alfalfa, if you have standing corn, anything like that, anything that's going to draw deer in and they're going to stay in there. If you're in big woods, it's a little bit harder. You might have to find, there might be some leftover mast crop, undergrowth, anything like that they're hitting. It's going to be a little harder to find for you big woods guys. You're going to do your homework. But again, there'll be food sources out there. And then obviously there's bedding areas. Those are the two keys this time of year. Outside of those bedding areas and food sources, you want to find the runs that connect them, like I just said. And if you have anywhere along those runs that the deer have to make a fence jump, go over a log, anything like that, those are good places to look. Our main farm is in ag land, so it's like odd old pasture ground, so there's a lot of fences. We find sheds along our fence jumps pretty regularly. I think I found 2 last year along fence jumps. So if you can find a good heavily used fence jump, that's a good spot to look. Another key is, remember, when you're walking through the woods, you can see all the old rut sign. You can see last year's rubs and scrapes and rub lines and the runs, everything. You can see it. It lays out like a road map. But you want to be where the deer are now. Don't get distracted by all that fall sign. That's not necessarily where they're going to be now. You need to focus on where they are now if you want to find find their sheds, right? They're shedding now, not in the fall. So don't get distracted. Stay focused on where those deer are now. Bedding areas. South-facing slopes. So any slope, any ridge, any hill, anything that's south-facing is going to get more sun than the rest of the area. Deer are going to sit on that slope, and they're going to soak in that sun, and that's a great area. You can see those areas. The snow will be gone off them sooner than anywhere else in the woods usually. So if you go into the woods, you see snow cover, and then you start seeing some open patches, especially if they're on south-facing slopes, definitely worth going to check out. The other thing you want to look for in a bedding area is thermal cover. So if you have a stand of pines, spruces, firs, anything like that will keep that snow up on the tree and not down on the ground. As you know, if you walk through those areas, there's less snow. The deer know that too. They're going to take advantage of that thermal cover. It'll keep them out of the snow, keep them warm. They're good yarding areas this time of year. So that's another good spot. If you have a stand of pines on your property, if you have any, like I said, spruces or firs, especially if they're close to food, deer are probably in there. You're going to want to go through there and check it out. So when it comes to wear, I think the key is, the most important thing is really focus on the sign that's from now. Like I said before, don't get tricked into wandering and getting drawn in by the rubs and everything. Trust me, I do it all the time. But I want to spend, when I'm in the woods, if I'm going to go out for 3 hours, I want to spend 2.5 hours in a bedding area, on those runs, on the food source. I don't want to be walking through the woods hoping I stumble upon something. I want to be focused in those high likelihood areas of where the deer are now. So food and bedding areas, the runs in between, those are the big 3. And then you can find those bedding areas by looking in those thermal cover areas, south-facing slopes, etc. So hopefully that makes sense. A couple, if you're out there shed hunting, maybe some of that will resonate. Maybe you're sitting there agreeing with me. That's cool too. I'm by no means an expert, but if you have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out. Let's talk about it. If you find a good shed, share it up. Let me know. I'd love to see it. So good luck to everybody. Get out there, spend your time in the woods, enjoy it, and hopefully you'll find a shed or 2 this year. Take care.